Hello everybody. So today I got a torture test for you, or a comparison as you will. And it's going to be between the Thermold AK-47 magazine and the Tapco AK magazine. Now I've already tested the differences between the Magpul polymer AK mag and the Tapco, and of course the Tapco came out on top. And now I'm testing the difference between the Thermold AK mag versus the Tapco. So let's get a close-up first here of the two magazines. Here's the Tapco. You guys are probably all familiar with this magazine. I have several of these, and they're great magazines for polymer magazines. They're usually less expensive than the Thermold ones. So the Tapco, made in the USA, real heavy front lug, heavy rear lug, loaded up with 122 grain tool ammo, all these stiffening ribs up and down it, and steel base plate. Thermold, plastic base plate or polymer base plate, got a couple ribs up and down it, front lug, rear lug, also polymer, loaded up with 122 grain tool ammo. So let's compare these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a steel magazine that I use for training all the time. I rely on these magazines a lot. Great magazines in this rifle that I've really never had any measurable amount of malfunctions or problems with. So just to prove that the rifle is in good working condition, I'm going to go ahead and run some few rounds through it with the Steel Control magazine. So now let's check the functionality of the Tapco magazine. Fits in there just fine. And now the functionality of the Thermold magazine. It seems to fit in there pretty well as well. So far the two are comparable. They both fit in the rifle. They both seem to function, at least with the first 10 or 11 rounds, just fine. So let's get into the durability of them. So let's first do some AK push-ups. We'll start with the Tapco. The same magazine I was firing from. All the testing is done with the same two magazines. Seems to hold the body weight just fine. And nothing seems really worse for wear there. So let's go with the Thermold. This seems to have held up. So the next thing we're going to do is a dirt test. I'm just going to take a handful of dirt and sand here, and just get some dirt in the Tapco. Do the same thing with the Thermold. I'm going to shake them out just a little bit, and let's run them. That seemed to go all right. Now for the Thermold. Well, the only thing I would say so far is it seems like maybe in another round or two that might have been a problem. So it seems like the follower is stuck, whereas the Tapco, even though it's still shaking dirt out of it, the follower does not seem to be stuck. There we go. That's failure number one. So Tapco 1, Thermold 0. I'm sorry, I should say Thermold 1 failure, Tapco 0. Let's go to one more. Okay, so when I was reloading, after I tapped out and worked the follower a little bit in both these magazines to make sure they were as clear as possible without actually tearing them apart and cleaning them, I found that the ammo, what fell out, what I showed you just a little bit ago, the ammo just falling out of this Thermold, was really hard to get back in. I don't know if there's some scarring in there or what, but what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and run the rest of the ammo out of both these magazines and then move on to the next test. So first I'm going to run the rest of this Tapco. Empty. Empty. Okay, I feel better about that. I wasn't sure it was going to feed them. Alright, so the next test in durability. So let's see. There doesn't appear to be any cracks in it. Okay. And doesn't appear to be any cracks or problems. Let's reload them with some ammo and shoot them. Now, I've used Thermold magazines in the past, and this has been a kind of surprising test for me. I've had these fail time and time again. This is a bit of a shocker. However, it's done really well. It's done really well against what I consider to be the king of polymer magazines, Tapco. But here's some of the biggest differences that I've seen so far. If you can see, Tapco does use a thicker polymer, which is a big plus. Their lugs seem to be built a bit heavier and tougher, front and back. And here's a big one, and this is probably where the failure came from earlier with the dirt test. Is this the Thermold does not have an anti-tilt follower. See how it just gets stuck from me pushing on it? And when you do that to the Tapco, the whole follower goes up and down. It doesn't get stuck. That's probably the biggest differences. Now, with that being said, it's passed a pretty decent torture test in comparison. So, while these are usually about half the price of these, maybe not half, but they're definitely usually less expensive than these. Not a bad range mag. I wouldn't want to count on it for my life, but it is not a bad range mag at all. Again, those are just my findings in this particular test. I know there's been a lot of people who, including myself, that these Thermolds have failed on. But in this particular test, especially for you new shooters, trying to find the right things, and maybe you're tight on a budget and all that for your AK-47, while I still suggest a Tapco, if you happen to run across a good deal on Thermolds and you want them for the range, who am I to say otherwise? Go for it. Thanks for listening.